What if everything you've been told about success is a lie? What if the real secret isn't talent, luck, or timing, but a mindset so rare, only 1% of people ever truly unlock it? Today, I am going to take you deep inside this hidden world, where discomfort fuels greatness, and ordinary minds break to create legends. If you think you are ready to face the shocking truth about what it really takes to be unstoppable, stay with me, because this is not just motivation, it is a game changer. The air was thick, heavy with the smell of dust and sweat. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over cracked pavement. Every sound felt sharper. A distant horn blared. Footsteps echoed with a strange rhythm, uneven and uncertain. He stood alone, heart pounding like a drum in a silent room. The weight of failure pressed down on his chest. Around him, the world moved like a tidal wave. But he felt stuck, frozen in a moment of doubt. The crowd passed by without notice. Faces blurred into a sea of indifference. The taste of fear was bitter on his tongue. He closed his eyes, remembered the promises he had made, the dreams he buried deep inside. This was the moment when most would quit, turn back, hide in comfort. But not him. He opened his eyes. The street lights flickered on, one by one. The city breathed in slow, deliberate gasps. The 1% mindset is born here, in the shadow of despair. When the world tells you to stop, it is the whisper that says, "You are not ordinary. You will rise." The cold wind cut through his jacket, a sharp reminder that comfort is an illusion. He took a step forward, not because the path was clear, but because he refused to be invisible. The pain in his legs was a distant echo. His lungs burned with every breath. But in that discomfort, a fire sparked, a silent scream against the silence of giving up. No one would see the battles fought in the dark. No one would know the nights spent staring at a ceiling painted with doubt. Yet here he was, choosing struggle over surrender. The 1% mindset is a rebellion against the ordinary, against the easy way out. It demands sacrifice. It demands courage. And most of all, it demands belief. Belief when nothing else makes sense. Belief when the night feels endless. He clenched his fists, felt the roughness of the ground beneath his shoes. Every grain a reminder of the journey. The world was waiting for him to fall. But he was not the same man who stood here yesterday. He was the storm rising in silence. He was the storm rising in silence. A force no one saw coming. The quiet before the roar. Every breath he took was a promise. Not to others, but to himself. To fight. To endure. To conquer. The city around him felt alive. The flicker of distant neon lights blurred like stars in the dark. The hum of traffic was a distant heartbeat. He was small in this vast, uncaring world, but his mind was vast. A battlefield of thoughts both wild and sharp, each one demanding victory. The cold night air bit at his skin, but inside a fire burned. Not a reckless blaze. A steady, relentless flame. It was the flame of the 1% mindset. The mindset that does not accept defeat as final. The mindset that looks pain in the eye and says, "I am stronger." The sound of his footsteps grew louder in his ears. A rhythm of determination. One step, then another. Forward, always forward. He remembered the faces of those who doubted him. The laughter behind closed doors. The whispered words meant to break him. But those voices only fed the fire. The 1% mindset is forged in discomfort. In moments like this, when everything inside screams to stop, it is born when the world tries to trap you in chains of mediocrity. He paused. A shiver ran down his spine. Not from the cold, from realization. Success is not given. It is taken. It is wrestled from the hands of fear and uncertainty. Every champion has stood exactly where he stood, at the edge of giving up, and chose to leap anyway. The night deepened. Stars hid behind heavy clouds. The path ahead was unknown, but that did not matter. He pulled his jacket tighter, the fabric rough against his skin, a reminder of how far he had come. The struggle was real, the pain undeniable, but so was the power and persistence. He thought of the 99%, those who chose comfort over courage, those who settled for easy answers. They slept soundly, but they never tasted greatness. He breathed in deeply. The air was sharp, electric, like the world itself was holding its breath. He took another step, and then another. The noise of the city faded. His mind sharpened. The 1% mindset is lonely, because few dare to walk this path. It requires sacrifice, sleepless nights, endless battles with doubt, but it also offers something priceless, a chance to rise above, to become extraordinary. He could feel it now, the moment of transformation, like the first light of dawn after the darkest night. The ground beneath him was uneven. Jagged stones bit into his shoes. Every step a test. His muscles screamed in protest, but he pushed forward, because pain is temporary, but regret lasts forever. The whispers of failure tried to creep in, but he silenced them with sheer will. The 1% mindset does not listen to fear. It listens to the voice inside that says, "You are more than enough. You are built for this." He looked up. The horizon was still dark, but somewhere beyond the night, the sun was waiting. A new day, a new chance. He smiled, not because the struggle was over, but because he chose to keep fighting. He was no longer a victim of his circumstances. He was a warrior of his own destiny. And this was only the beginning. He was a warrior of his own destiny. And this was only the beginning. The city around him whispered secrets of millions who had walked this path before. Legends made in silence. Champions forged through trials no one could see. He could feel their presence, not in ghosts or shadows, but in the pulse of the very air he breathed. This was the sacred space where dreams were either buried or born anew. The night pressed closer, a dark curtain drawn tight against the fragile light inside him. But inside that light, there was no flicker of doubt, no hesitation, only an unyielding fire. The 1% mindset is not about being fearless. It is about feeling fear, recognizing it, and moving forward regardless. The cold seeped through his clothes. His skin prickled like tiny needles. Each breath came sharp and quick. His mind raced with memories of every no he had ever heard. Every door slammed in his face. But the 1% mindset is the loudest voice in the silence of rejection. It roars with the power of all the times you refused to quit. Every scar, every failure, every heartbreak is a badge of honor. He thought of the mornings he woke before dawn, of the nights he worked long past exhaustion, of the sweat, the tears, the aching limbs. This was the price of greatness. No one saw the sacrifices. No one heard the silent prayers whispered in the dark. But the universe felt it, and it was waiting to reward the relentless. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the cold night air. It burned and woke him. The sound of distant sirens cut through the quiet, a reminder that life never stops, that the world kept moving, and he was moving with it. One step, then another. He felt the sharp edge of a pebble bite his foot, pain real and immediate, but it was nothing compared to the ache of giving up. The 1% mindset sees pain as a signal, not a stop sign. It challenges you to keep going when every part of your body screams to quit. His thoughts flickered to those who never made it this far, the ones who folded under pressure. He would not be one of them, because he understood something crucial. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Stagnation is the silent killer of dreams. He felt the rough bark of a tree under his fingertips as he paused. The tree stood tall, weathered by storms and years of neglect. Yet it did not bow. It did not break. It stood strong because it had roots deep enough to hold it steady. He was like that tree, rooted in resolve, unshaken by the winds of doubt. The path was still dark, but his steps were sure. The 1% mindset sees the unseen path. It believes in the steps not yet taken, in the promise of tomorrow, even when today feels impossible. He swallowed hard, felt the dryness in his throat, the roughness in his voice waiting to be spoken. Words that would inspire, words that would ignite. The fire in his heart was a spark that could not be ignored. He imagined himself standing at the top of a mountain, the climb brutal, relentless, every muscle screaming in protest. But the view from the summit was worth every struggle, because the 1% mindset is about reaching that peak, about looking down on the world and knowing you made it, not because it was easy, but because you refused to quit. The night grew colder still. his breath visible in the frigid air. He moved again, faster now, fueled by a storm inside. The city lights flickered ahead like distant stars, each one a beacon of hope. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled photo, a reminder of why he fought, the faces of those he loved, those who believed when no one else did. The 1% mindset is never selfish. It is about lifting others as you rise. He smiled through the pain, because this fight was bigger than him. It was about legacy, about proving that even in the darkest nights, the smallest light can shine brightest. His footsteps echoed louder now, a symphony of determination. He was no longer just a man walking a lonely path. He was a force of nature. The world might not be ready for him yet, but he was ready for the world. He reached the crest of a hill and looked back. The city sprawled behind him, lights twinkling like 1,000 eyes watching. He felt the rush of adrenaline, the surge of power that comes from pushing beyond limits. The 1% mindset is a revolution. It is a quiet rebellion fought in the heart and mind. It is a refusal to accept ordinary, a commitment to extraordinary. And he was living proof. Proof that no matter how dark the night, the dawn always breaks. Proof that struggle is not the end, but the beginning of something greater. He took one last breath, steeled himself for what was next, because the journey of the 1% never ends. It only grows harder, more demanding, more rewarding. He was ready, because this was not just a story. It was the story of every soul brave enough to rise, to fight, to become the 1%. It was the story of every soul brave enough to rise, to fight, to become the 1%. The wind whispered through the empty streets now, carrying the weight of countless untold battles. The cold was sharper, biting deeper into his skin, but he welcomed it, because pain was no longer a foe. It was a teacher. The rough pavement beneath his feet was cracked and uneven, a reflection of the journey he had traveled. Not smooth, not easy, but real. His senses sharpened. The distant hum of life in the city was a steady reminder that the world never stops. Even when you feel stuck, the world moves. And so must you. He looked up. The sky was a blanket of darkness pierced by a few stubborn stars. They were faint, but persistent. Just like him, the 1% mindset thrives on persistence, on refusing to vanish into the crowd of those who settle. His breath came in steady puffs, cold vapor dancing in the night air. He was no longer afraid of the silence, no longer haunted by the echo of failure, because he understood that silence is where strength grows, where the roots of greatness dig deep. His hands clenched into fists, rough and worn from the fight, each callous a testament to battles won and lost. He could almost feel the eyes of the doubters burning into his back, the voices that told him he was not enough, that the world was too big, that his dreams were too big. But the 1% mindset does not listen to those voices. It builds a fortress around itself, a fortress made of unshakable belief. He thought about the mornings he had woken up before dawn, the nights he had stayed awake while others slept, sacrificing comfort for growth. The sacrifices had not been easy. They never are, but they were worth it. He took a slow, deep breath, feeling the cold fill his lungs, stealing his resolve. The path ahead was still uncertain. Fog rolled in from the edges of the city, swallowing the streetlights one by one. Yet he moved forward, because uncertainty is part of the journey. The 1% mindset embraces the unknown. It understands that the greatest rewards live on the other side of fear. He passed a shattered window. Fragments of glass glittered on the ground like forgotten dreams. But he did not look back. He did not stop to wonder what might have been. He kept his eyes fixed on the horizon. The city was waking now. The first hints of dawn painted the sky in shades of pale gold. Hope was rising with the sun. His heart quickened, not from exhaustion, but from the surge of possibility. This was the moment the 1% mindset lives for, the moment when doubt fights its last battle, and courage takes control. He thought of the people who would hear his story one day, those who would feel his struggle and find their own strength. The 1% mindset is contagious. It spreads through stories of resilience, through actions louder than words. He was becoming more than just a man. He was becoming a beacon, a light that would guide others out of darkness. His legs burned with fatigue, every step a challenge, but he refused to stop, because quitting was never an option. The 1% mindset is a promise to never settle, to never accept less than what you are capable of, to push harder, dream bigger, and rise higher. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, he felt a new strength coursing through him, like the storm he was becoming. Not just a survivor, but a conqueror, a man who had stared into the abyss and chosen to fight. He smiled, because the journey was far from over, and that was exactly how he wanted it. The 1% mindset is not a destination. It is a way of life, a continuous battle, a never-ending climb, and he was ready for every step, because he knew this truth. Greatness is not given. It is earned, with blood, sweat, tears, and an unbreakable spirit. He took one last look at the rising sun, felt the warmth touch his face, and stepped boldly into the day. The 1% mindset was alive in him, and nothing could ever take that away. The 1% mindset was alive in him, and nothing could ever take that away. He felt the weight of the world pressing down, but it no longer crushed him. It sharpened him, honed his will like a blade against stone. Every setback was no longer a wall, but a stepping stone. The scars on his hands told stories of relentless effort, the calluses from countless battles fought in silence, the quiet hours when the world was asleep but his dreams were awake. He walked faster now, the rhythm of his footsteps syncing with the beat of his heart. Every step was a declaration, a vow to never surrender. The city around him stirred, awakening to the promise of a new day. Lights spilled over rooftops, spilling gold onto empty streets. He was alone but never lonely, because he carried a universe inside him, a universe fueled by passion, purpose, and unwavering belief. The 1% mindset is a lonely road, but it is a path paved with purpose. It separates the dreamers from the doers, the spectators from the warriors. He reached a bridge overlooking the river, its surface shimmering with the reflection of the awakening sky. He stopped and gazed at the water flowing beneath. It reminded him of life, ever moving, never stagnant. No matter how many obstacles lay in its path, it kept flowing forward. He knew he had to be like that water, unstoppable, relentless, unyielding. The river's current was strong, sometimes violent, but it never gave up, and neither would he. He tightened his fists, feeling the raw power coursing through his veins. The pain in his legs, the ache in his bones, those were proof of his progress. Proof he was breaking free from the chains of mediocrity. His mind raced back to the countless times he had been told no. No, you are not good enough. No, you will never succeed. No, this is not your time. But the 1% mindset is deaf to no. It transforms every rejection into fuel, every failure into a lesson, every hardship into an opportunity. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the crisp morning air. The taste was sharp, invigorating. It was the taste of victory yet to come. He knew the road ahead would be filled with more challenges, more nights spent wrestling with doubt, more moments when giving up seemed easier. But he welcomed the struggle, because struggle was the proving ground, the place where ordinary men became legends. He felt the sun's warmth grow stronger on his skin, a silent promise of hope and new beginnings. He stepped off the bridge and onto the street beyond. The world was waking up, but he was already alive, fully awake, fully committed. The 1% mindset was not just about success. It was about transformation, becoming the best version of yourself, no matter the cost, no matter the pain, no matter the sacrifice. He thought about those who would follow his path one day, those who would hear his story and find the courage to fight their own battles. He was no longer just fighting for himself. He was fighting for everyone who dared to dream, for everyone who refused to be average, for everyone who believed that they deserved more. His steps grew steadier, his heart stronger. The journey was far from over, but he was no longer afraid, because he knew this truth deep in his soul. The 1% mindset is a lifelong battle, one that demands everything you have, and then some. But the rewards? They are beyond measure, because when you live with this mindset, you become unstoppable, unbreakable, and truly free. He looked up at the sky, now painted with hues of orange and pink, a masterpiece created by the rising sun. And in that moment, he realized something profound. The light had been inside him all along, waiting to be unleashed. The 1% mindset is the key to unlocking that light, to breaking free from the darkness of doubt and fear, to stepping into your power and becoming everything you were meant to be. He smiled, not because the journey was easy, but because he was ready to face whatever came next, ready to keep fighting, ready to rise, because this was more than a mindset. It was a revolution, a promise to himself and the world that he would never settle, never stop dreaming, and never, ever give up. The 1% mindset was his legacy, and nothing could take that away. The 1% mindset was his legacy, and nothing could take that away. He felt a surge of energy rise within him, raw and undeniable. It was the power of all the battles fought, the nights endured, the sweat and tears shed in silence. It was the power of belief, unshakable, unbreakable. Around him, the city stirred, but he moved with purpose beyond their waking eyes. Every step was deliberate, each heartbeat a drum calling him forward. He knew the journey was far from over. The climb would get steeper, the air thinner, but he was ready to meet every challenge, because the 1% mindset does not shy away from hardship. It seeks it out. It thrives in the crucible of difficulty. It is forged in fire and tempered by storms. His eyes caught a glimpse of a cracked mirror hanging in a dimly lit alley. He paused and stared deeply into his own reflection. The face looking back was worn, marked by struggle, but it was alive, more alive than it had ever been. Those eyes held a fierce determination, a promise made long ago, now reignited. He touched the mirror's edge, feeling the cold glass against his fingers. It was a reminder that reflection is not just about seeing who you are, but about choosing who you will become. The 1% mindset demands that choice every single day. It is a relentless call to action, to push beyond limits, to shatter the chains of comfort and complacency. The city's noises faded into a distant hum as his mind focused inward. He could hear the quiet voice inside, the one that speaks truth without fear. It whispered, "Keep going. You are meant for more." The weight of the world was still heavy, but he carried it with pride. Each burden was a lesson, each hardship a stepping stone. He felt the morning sun rise higher, casting golden light across the streets. It illuminated the path ahead, no longer dark and uncertain, but clear and inviting. He took a deep breath and felt the warmth seep into his skin, filling him with hope. The 1% mindset is not about luck. It is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It is about creating that moment, carving your own path when none exists, building your future from sheer will and determination. He thought of the millions who never dared to dream, who let fear and doubt dictate their lives. He felt a deep compassion for them, but he knew he could not carry their fears for them. His responsibility was to himself and to those who would follow, to show them that greatness is possible, that the impossible is just a challenge waiting to be conquered. He walked on, feeling the steady beat of his heart synchronize with the rhythm of the world waking around him. The scent of fresh rain lingered in the air, cleansing and renewing. It was a symbol of rebirth, a sign that no matter how dark the night, the dawn always comes. He remembered the countless times he had faced darkness, times when hope seemed lost, but he had learned that darkness is only temporary. The 1% mindset teaches us to find light in the shadows, to build strength from pain, to rise from ashes. The road was long, and the summit still distant. But he did not falter, because every step taken with courage brings you closer to your destiny. He clenched his fists and smiled, knowing that the fire inside him would never die. The 1% mindset is a flame that burns brighter with every obstacle overcome. It is a promise to never settle, to never give up, to live fully, boldly, and with purpose. As the city awakened, he moved forward, a living testament to what is possible, because he was not just chasing success. He was becoming it. He was the storm, the light, the 1%, and nothing at all could stop him now. He was the storm, the light, the 1%, and nothing at all could stop him now. The air was thick with possibility, charged like electricity before a thunderstorm. His heart hammered in his chest, steady and fierce. Every beat was a reminder that he was alive, truly alive. The 1% mindset is more than a way of thinking. It is a state of being, a declaration that you will rise, no matter how many times you fall. He remembered the faces of those who had doubted him, the sneers, the dismissive glances, the whispered "not good enough." But they were shadows now, fading with each step he took forward, because he was building something real, something lasting, something powerful. The city stretched out before him, a jungle of steel and glass bathed in the new light of dawn. It was both beautiful and brutal, a place where dreams could either die or be born. He chose birth. He chose life. He chose the relentless pursuit of greatness. His feet carried him faster now, fueled by an unstoppable force within. The weight of fear was gone, replaced by a fierce hunger, a hunger to prove that limits exist only to be shattered. He felt the rough texture of the pavement beneath his worn shoes. Each crack, each imperfection, told a story of resilience, of survival, of progress. He was no longer just a man walking a path. He was a force reshaping it. The 1% mindset understands that pain is inevitable. Suffering is guaranteed. But quitting is a choice. He had chosen to endure, to fight, to win. The wind picked up, tugging at his clothes like a challenge from the universe itself. He met that challenge head-on, with clenched fists and unyielding spirit. He could see the silhouette of the city's tallest building ahead, a symbol of ambition, a monument to those who dared to reach higher. He smiled because he was about to join their ranks, not by chance, but by design, by the sweat and tears he had poured into his dreams. The 1% mindset is the architect of destiny. It builds empires from hope and relentless effort. It carves legends from ordinary men. He felt the rising sun on his face again, warmer now, stronger. It was a promise of what was to come, of the power he was unleashing within himself. The city was alive now, buzzing with energy and possibility. And so was he, because he had crossed a line between fear and courage, between doubt and belief, between giving up and going all in. He was no longer waiting for permission, no longer asking for validation. He was the master of his fate, the captain of his soul, and the 1% mindset was his compass, guiding him through storms and sunshine alike. He paused at a street corner, watching people rush by, so many trapped in their routines, afraid to step outside their comfort zones. But not him. He had chosen the road less traveled, the one paved with uncertainty and risk, because he knew that the greatest rewards come to those who dare, who fight, who persist. The 1% mindset is a revolution of the mind and spirit. It is the refusal to accept less than your potential, a battle cry for those who know they were born for more. He took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the city pulse through his veins. The future was his canvas, and he was ready to paint his masterpiece, because the 1% mindset is not just about success. It is about transformation, becoming the person who does not settle, who does not back down, who turns dreams into reality. He lifted his chin, stepping forward with newfound purpose. The journey was far from over, but he was no longer afraid, because he carried the light inside him now, a light that would never be extinguished, a light that would guide him through every dark night, through every storm, through every challenge yet to come. He was the 1%, and this was only the beginning. He was the 1%, and this was only the beginning. The city's heartbeat matched his own, a rhythm pulsing with endless possibility. Every sound, the distant honk of a car, the murmur of early risers, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, was a symphony of life and challenge. He stepped into the flow, a lone figure moving with quiet determination through the awakening streets. The cool morning air carried the scent of rain from the night before, fresh and sharp, filling his lungs with clarity. He embraced it, letting it wash away the remnants of doubt and fear, because the 1% mindset is a cleansing force. It strips away excuses, distractions, and the noise of the ordinary, leaving only the pure essence of willpower and drive. He remembered the countless moments when giving up seemed easier, the nights when exhaustion threatened to swallow him whole. But he had chosen differently. He had chosen to fight, to rise, to push beyond the limits set by others, and by himself. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows behind him, stretching toward a future only he could see. He knew that shadows were not to be feared. They were proof of the light he carried within, proof that he was moving forward, leaving darkness behind. His feet hit the pavement with steady resolve. Each step was a beat in the anthem of his journey. The 1% mindset does not promise an easy path. It promises a real one filled with obstacles designed to test your mettle, one that demands you grow stronger with every challenge. He paused at a corner, watching a homeless man sitting quietly, wrapped in a tattered blanket. A pang of empathy struck him. He saw the reflection of what could have been, had he not fought so fiercely. It was a stark reminder that the journey to the top is not guaranteed for anyone. It is earned through relentless effort, courage, and sacrifice. The 1% mindset is a call to arms, a challenge to never become complacent, to always strive for more. He clenched his fists, feeling the fire inside ignite once again. He was not just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for everyone who believed in the power of possibility, for those who dared to dream when the world said it was impossible. He stepped into the sunlight now, the warmth on his face a symbol of hope and renewal. The path ahead was steep and winding, but he welcomed it, because every uphill battle strengthens the soul. Every struggle refines character. The 1% mindset is forged in these moments, not in comfort, not in ease, but in grit, perseverance, and unwavering faith. He looked up at the towering skyscrapers, their glass facades reflecting the endless sky. They stood as monuments to human ambition and achievement. He was determined to join their ranks, not for fame or fortune, but to prove to himself that greatness was within reach. The city buzzed with life around him, but he moved with singular focus. The noise faded into background static as his mind honed in on the mission ahead. He was more than a man chasing a dream. He was a force shaping his own destiny. The 1% mindset does not settle for what is given. It takes what is possible and makes it inevitable. He breathed deeply, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart, the power in his limbs, the clarity in his mind. Every fiber of his being was aligned with his purpose. He knew the road would be long, filled with more tests, more doubts, more moments of temptation to quit. But he was ready, because the 1% mindset is a lifelong commitment, a promise to yourself to never stop growing, to never stop pushing, to never accept anything less than your best. He smiled as he walked, feeling the surge of energy that comes from being fully alive, from knowing you are on the right path, no matter how hard it gets. Because the true power of the 1% mindset is not in the victories. It is in the fight itself, in the relentless refusal to give up, in the courage to keep moving forward when all odds are against you. He was the 1%, and this was his moment, the dawn of a new chapter, a story of transformation and triumph, and he was ready to write it. And now, here's the truth you must hold close. The 1% mindset is not reserved for the chosen few. It is not a secret club with hidden doors. It is a choice, a daily decision to rise above fear, doubt, and distraction, to stand firm when the world tries to shake you, to keep moving when your body begs for rest. It is about waking up every morning and deciding, today, I will be better than I was yesterday. Today, I will push harder. Today, I will refuse to settle. Because greatness is not handed out like a prize. It is earned in the silence of effort, in the sweat of sacrifice, in the moments when no one is watching. So ask yourself, are you ready to live with the 1% mindset? To be relentless in your pursuit? To turn every no into a yes? If your answer is yes, then know this. You already possess the power to change your life, to shatter limits, to create a future beyond your wildest dreams. The path will be hard. It will test you. It will break you down to build you back stronger. But if you keep going, if you stay true to the mindset of the 1%, you will rise. You will conquer. You will become unstoppable. And when that day comes, when you stand tall, looking back at the road you traveled, you will smile, knowing every struggle was worth it, because you dare to be different. You dare to be better. You dare to live the 1% mindset. So go forward now, with courage in your heart, with fire in your soul, and with the unshakable belief that your greatest days are still ahead. This is your moment, your time, your legacy. Live it, own it, become the 1%, because the world is waiting for you.